With him now officially being a free agent, should the Chicago Bulls look into D'Angelo Russell as a point guard for the future? We'll discuss why or why not after this. Now, listen, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. This is your boy PK from Windy City Breeze. We talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. You know how we do, so get in tune. Man, let's get into the video. The Lakers just took the L. Clean sweep. Wasn't even a gentleman sweep. Smacked them boys at the crib. Denver got it done. But with that being the case, that actually means that the Lakers have some decisions to make, two of which come by the point guard position. One of which we're talking about today, D'Angelo Russell, who is officially an unrestricted free agent. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. They looked at him on this court. They looked at him in the last 4 games. And they said, this man's been absolute trash. And I can't say you were wrong. Last 4 games have been a very poor showing for D'Angelo Russell. He didn't look like the same point guard. He did make some timely shots at times, but defensively, he definitely was a miss. I mean, he's never been known as the greatest defender in the first place, but when you're sitting there in a situation where you absolutely need to have people and have your team show some effort, you think that he'd be, given a little more opportunity. And with the emergence of Austin Reeves and, you got Dennis Schroeder over there, who's also a point guard who we may need to look into, it's kind of easy to see why he kind of fell to the side. But does that absolutely mean that he's trash? No, it doesn't absolutely mean that. In fact, I don't want to hold this last 4 games, or even if you want to hold the series against the Warriors against him, simply because the production he put up over the season really is what we're going to analyze and why he may be a valuable piece. Despite how you may feel, and I know a lot of Chicago faithfuls may feel this way, D'Angelo Russell is absolutely a good player. In fact, if you really want to look at D'Angelo Russell this regular season, actually did something quite nice. We're gonna move past the 4 year, 117 million. He finessed that bag. All right, he got paid. We're talking about him being a free agent now. I highly doubt he gets that bag again. However, statistically, D'Angelo Russell was 17.9 points a game. I'm gonna round up that point zero one and give him 18 points a game. 18 points a game on 46% shooting. It was 48% playoffs. But here's the most important thing: it's the one thing that we absolutely need. He was nearly 40% from the 3-point line. 40% sounds familiar from a point guard that we had, right? So if you want to look at his stats real quick, let's just say 17 points off nearly 48% shooting at nearly 40% from three, while still putting up 6 assists and totaling a couple of rebounds as well. Those are not bad numbers from a point guard position. It's exactly what we need. We know he can run point. He's been running point. We know that he can shoot. You can see that he can shoot. It's just these last couple of games, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, I'm seeing a playoff series where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is getting outplayed by 2 undrafted players. So if we're gonna smoke him, smoke everybody. It's just been a horrible, weird showing. I don't know what to say about that. However, the body of work that they put together, the body of work that D'Angelo Russell has put together, tells me that he could be a good acquisition for us. We need that type of player. Yeah, okay. You said, well, P Kid, he's not consistent. Well, I tell you what, the only thing that's been really consistent about him is he averages 17 points for his career. That's consistency. If you look at that, he's gone up and he's tapered a little bit. He's tapered a little closer to 17, but at his peak, he was 23% shooting off nearly 38% from three. He's been consistent. He's been consistent in that space. We are already a good defensive team without Lonzo being on the court. Guess what? I don't think he would hinder us that much. Plus, he also knows how to run the point guard position. Those are the pluses. He can shoot. He can run the point. We know that he can get a bucket. He's been getting a bucket his whole career. He's not as bad as a player as people want to think. And when you think about all the available point guards, he may be someone who you can get on the cheap. Now, why do I say that? Again, I'm not personally going to hold those last games against him, but The entire notion is that they will not extend him. He will not be brought back, and he wasn't worth being brought back. This is one of those buy low situations. I don't think he'll ever see another 4 year, $117 million contract. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Now, does that mean he shouldn't get paid? No, that doesn't mean that he shouldn't get paid. Can I see him getting a deal very close to Lonzo's or maybe even a little more? Absolutely. You want to know why? Because for the most part, well, he's played a good portion of his career. Best ability is availability. Now he may not have been the healthiest overall, but I will say this: he's been healthier than Lonzo. Lonzo, without even having the real chance to prove his worth, still got paid nearly 20 million a year. It's just the market. So yeah, I can see D'Angelo Russell going to a team. I'm hoping the Bulls, and I can see him getting paid the bag, getting a bag. Not 117 over four, but definitely getting a bag. Again, I don't want people to get tripped up over numbers like that. If it's something that you need, and with the people we haven't re-signed, i.e. Vooch, with the people who I do believe that we may trade away, i.e. DeMar, I do feel like there's space and there's room for him, and he's young, 27 years old, which means that there's a lot of room to grow within that if he can stay healthy, which for a good portion of his career, he has been. So I'm not going to hold that against him. Those are the pros and what makes him a good acquisition. Now, what are the cons? One, not having real consistency in our organization, not really knowing what direction we're going, not really knowing exactly who we're going to keep, who we're not going to keep. I tell you this, a good point guard works in the system when you have a defined big and you have a defined wing. We know that I know for I'm not gonna say I know for a fact. It would make no sense to trade Zach Levine unless you go for a full rebuild, and it doesn't seem like that's what we're doing. However, it would make sense to trade DeMar if you're going for a retool because you get a little younger. If we go for a retool and we can get trade DeMar, and I hope we keep Vooch, bringing in a D'Angelo Russell actually makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because now you have that two-man game that they can play, and then you also have a point guard to facilitate the entire thing. I'm not saying that D'Angelo Russell is going to be the saving grace. However, it is a lot better than what we've had. Now, again, not knowing that direction puts a lot of things in question. This makes that one of those things in which it's a pie in the sky conversation, and I really don't like putting out that type of content. I really like to put out informed content, at least to the best of my ability, and at least I share my opinion and we have an intelligent conversation over it, as opposed to putting out clickbait stuff. So I hope that this is not what it comes across as. He's going to be a free agent, but we do have some questions as to what direction we're going from an organizational standpoint. And that brings up the next part. How does Billy Donovan utilize him? I do know that Billy Donovan has had some experience within the Shroud. I do believe. I could be wrong on that one, but I do believe that OKC connection kind of exists there. And if I'm wrong, oh well. And I do feel like, hey, maybe Russell Westbrook may be the better option, but I do know he's going to come at a healthier price tag than D'Angelo Russell, and that we may absolutely not have the room for. Uh, but Billy Donovan to me is absolutely going to be the biggest question because if these playoffs have not shown you anything, it's shown you that coaching matters. I saw Mike Malone put out a clinic on coaching. Yes, he does have great players, but he put them in the right spot. He made good adjustments. I saw the Coach Ham for the Lakers, make some good adjustments. Had a good game plan. Sometimes the other team is just better. Sometimes they just have better players. I see Spo out coaching Joe Masula, who has a far better roster, clearly putting on a clinic with them, and those players are responding. He has a culture there. Billy Donovan, I don't know what he has yet in Chicago. I don't know what identity he's actually sitting there establishing there. It does come from the top down. It's not just a player who runs in. No, that player has to be in tune with in step with his coach, and that coach has to kind of lead the way a little bit and then allow his players to do what they do. I don't know what Billy Donovan is going to do. I don't know how he coaches. I don't really get. I give him leeway because I know injuries were there, but at the same time, I give him a lot of smoke because I'm seeing that there are other coaches out here who can really coach. Ty Lue absolutely had a different lineup every other game, made it to the playoffs and was still favored. Yes, he did have the talent, but he also had talent that was labored and injured. He had Russell Westbrook just get traded to him. But have that man in a position to cook. He can coach. He puts his players in the right position. He makes adjustments. I don't know if Billy Donovan's that coach yet. There's some good coaches that got cut. Monty Williams is a good coach to me. He can coach. I think he fumbled the Aiden situation, but I think he can coach. I really do. I think he's a better coach than Billy Donovan. I think Nick Nurse may be a better coach than Billy Donovan, right? So coaching matters. And so I don't want to spend too much time on that one. But guess what? If you don't know what you have at your coaching situation, in your coaching situation, if you don't know who you have at the helm, it's hard to even imagine trying to get a point guard in, because guess who's the floor general? Guess who has to run that system? Guess who has to be the extension of that coach on the court? It's your point guard. Your point guard should be the extension of that, should be setting the tone. I don't know what tone Billy is trying to set. And so that's my biggest question. Now, I do believe that D'Angelo Russell could help. I do believe that his shooting spreads the floor. I think he could absolutely put up and come here and be impactful. But I want to hear your thoughts. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, I think that D'Angelo Russell, again, could have a positive impact. There are some downsides, but there are no perfect players and no perfect situation. It is about how as a team we cover those things up. And I think we may have the tools here to do so. But again, I want to hear your thoughts. This is your boy P Kid, and we're gonna have a long offseason, man. It's gonna be some other teams out there. It's gonna be some other players out there. We're gonna have a video about Dennis Schroeder. I think he did well defensively. He is not the shooter and scorer as D'Lo, though. I'm just put that out there right now. You go look at them stats. He is not the same scorer. But again, put your thoughts in there. I'll be in the comments with you. Until next time, y'all.